Hi everyone, I'm Leonie Rothwell from Sprouter. We're a people, performance and culture ecosystem. You would have seen my business partner here this morning with Vega. Really excited to be with you today, and we got the last slot, so thank you for staying. Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about building the future we choose. Choice being the operative word. So we're really going to explore that with three of our Sprouter partners, which is Chris Hare from Equate. He works in strategic workforce planning. We've got Liz Gould, who is a performance psychologist with Encounters. And we've got Grant Moyle, who is the co-founder of 2.ai, an AI expert. And we've got the lovely Mary Lemonis, who is a CPO of Built, experienced in leadership, culture, everything, transformation, and has been done some really good work in the people transformation. So we've had a bit of a warm-up conversation earlier, and we're really coming from this in 4 different lenses. Obviously, we agree on some things, but we don't agree on all things, so I'll just put that warning out to you. So we might just kick off just with a big question, and I might start with you, Chris. When you think about the future in your domain, what excites you the most and what concerns you the most?
Right. I think what has concerned me over time, so we live in this space called strategic workforce planning, means a lot of different things to different people, but essentially we're talking about the future and how to future-proof. And the thing that has always concerned me is leadership has been reluctant to engage in that conversation. They've really enjoyed being agile, seeing where the wind blows and trying to react as fast as they can, and that they've really neglected thinking about 2, 3, 4, 5 years out, which is a real problem if you're employing people and hoping to give them a clear message of what their future is. So that concerns me and still concerns me. What makes me hopeful, you know, I've already heard a lot of conversations around AI already, and I do think that there will be different opinions here. But one of the good things around AI is it's made the future so uncertain that executives are really clear that they don't have a shared view of what that means for their organizations, and it's forcing them to want to plan more and be a bit more thoughtful on what the future of employment will look like.
Thank you. Liz, what are you excited about and what concerns you the most?
As a performance psychologist, I could totally nerd out on this, talking about all the opportunities. I think there's a lot for me that excites me, but equally there's a lot that concerns me. So I'll give you one of each. I think what excites me is our understanding of human capability has exponentially evolved, and we've got better tools, systems to be able to have a look at that, have a look at how we do deep focus work, have a look at how we connect with each other and collaborate, how we look at some of our performance systems. And I think traditionally we've been looking at it in a way of, we've heard it today, KPIs and output. But I think what we've really got an opportunity now when we partner with AI is to look at how we can have human-centered performance systems, how we can actually look at the way individuals work and how we can leverage our human capability in partnering with some of those systems and those tools as well. And from a performance perspective, I think, well, great. This creates some efficiencies for us to really lean into those human capabilities that not always AI has. In saying that, though, the flip side for me is the cognitive overload that often happens. And what we know at the moment is that one of the biggest risks in the workplace is workload, and with that often comes cognitive overload. The speed of which we are now expected to do things because AI is there and we have more data, therefore we have more decisions to make, can actually really be a massive derailer for humans and human capability. And I think in the society that we live in at the moment, it's something we really need to pay attention to, because the society that we live in at the moment, the expectation around our upgrades is right there in front of us. Let's upgrade our skills. Let's elevate our life. Let's elevate our style. Let's increase our self-belief and our confidence. So the expectation is there. We don't necessarily have the ability at this stage, because of human performance systems not necessarily always being in place, we don't have the ability yet to start processing it in a way that allows our human brains to cope with it.
And that behaviour is rewarded as well, isn't it? To
Yeah.
do more.
To do more, to do more. And I think what I'm seeing with organisations, I think the choice here for organisations is pretty clear. You've got a choice with using AI to push, go faster, go harder. Like, let's use it to, as you heard it in the Slack video just then, be more productive. It's increased our productivity. So leaders are looking at that going, fantastic, right? As a performance psychologist working with individuals, teams and organisations, my question is, how do we actually look at using this and partnering with it so we can't just go faster, but we can go well and sustain that wellness?
It's the same, Chris, about what you say with executives around firefighting. It's rewarding the behaviour of an old way of being, potentially. Grant? Excites or fears?
I'm a little bit biased. I'm most excited because I think it can turn us into superheroes. And by that, I mean, for the first time ever, we have the entirety of human knowledge in our pocket and we have the ability to wield it. So you can have concerns today, but AI doesn't stop today. AI is going to continue to evolve. It's going to evolve in an empathy. There'll be empathy. There will also be trained in non-empathy. You'll be able to help people achieve things or do more without pushing them too hard. So we're kind of in that real interesting part where we're not too sure what the outcome is. But what concerns me most is leadership leaving this decision to IT departments and functionaries, because I think this is the first time that we've had to decide on an intelligence, and it's much more like hiring a new person or hiring a new team. It's not how do we implement this new technology. And I'm really worried that these guys are going to be, let's just put in this AI system. Like, who here has been told you can use Copilot and only Copilot in your office? Well, that's the really easy IT implementation answer, and it might not actually be the right one. You have to start assessing these on a personality basis and a safety basis and a security basis, but it can't be left up to the IT department to make that call.
Mary?
I think what excites me, is this on? Yep. Hello? Yep, thank you. Is organisations that understand that sustained high performance is a combination of the human and the additional intelligence, like that, think about it as an augmentation strategy, will win. And there are organisations that think about that way today. And you don't have to sell it. You know, I feel really lucky to work in an organisation where our CFO talks about AI as an augmentation strategy, not as a cut heads. It's like, how can we continue to deliver more and think about this as part of that capability? I think what scares me, and, you know, I think goes to a bit to what Liz was talking about with the cognitive overload, is that, you know, certainly in the time that I've been in this space, the expectation of leaders keeps on ratcheting up every year. You know, I think COVID was a big sort of new chapter in that space. Those lines between pastoral care and work blurred even more than they are today. When I started working, you know, back in the 90s, no one talked about mental health in the workplace. You know, 5 years ago, no one was really talking about menopause leave. You know, like, these things are all sort of shifting. And I think what that does is create additional expectation on our leaders to be able to navigate that and understand where the line of the organisation finishes their responsibility. And so for me, I think it's, you know, the organisations that will win in this space will be able to equip their leaders, make sure they're choosing the right people, but equally reinforce this point around individual accountability. You know, we only succeed when everyone plays their role. And so that's probably something that I would say keeps me up at night. How do we continue to make sure that we help our leaders pick the right ones, create pathways for the ones that are technically great but aren't great at leading? They're the things that are on my mind.
Great, thank you. Chris, tell us, what is the role of strategic workforce planning in creating real choice in shaping the future? And also, how does SWP add value in safety, wellbeing and performance?
Yeah, I think for me and the team, we kind of really believe that the organizations have to connect their people to purpose, ultimately. And I'm sure we all kind of believe that. SWP is a mechanism by which you can do that, by connecting what's our customer value proposition and what's the kind of workforce and the people it's going to take to realize that. It's from a business and executive point of view, a very commercial way to ensure that they can hit their revenue goals, as an example. But from a well-being perspective, we almost feel like it's a social responsibility. If you employ any number of people, but let's say, you know, you employ 10 or more people, if you have no idea what your organization is going to look like in 2027, it's really hard to hire that next person and go, I've got a job for you. I've got a job for you this quarter, but I have no idea what you're going to be for us in 2 years' time and what we're going to need you to be. And therefore, we're all guessing. And unfortunately for all of us, careers are a big deal. And I think a lot of the stress around AI changes and just in general around the economy, jobs are a very important part of our society. And if the leaders who control and make bets on what jobs they're going to need have no idea what the future holds or even a shared guess, it's highly irresponsible. So I think it impacts all of our well-being as a society where organizations don't think this way.
And what we've seen too is it creates conversations with a lot of people in the organisation rather than just a few. So having the CTO, the CPO and others people that need to input into these decisions. And I think that's an important thing about the people in the room is that we need your voice in the conversations and a part of that, the decision making there. Mary, how do you help your workforce make choices and lean into these rapid changes, AI and beyond? There's a lot of other changes happening, confidently rather than fearfully. We see a lot of organisational fear at the moment. How do you get them to lean in confidently?
I think, you know, transparency. As much as you can, be as transparent as you can. You know, I work in an industry where, you know, and I'm new to construction. I was in digital before with REA, and before that I was in consumer goods. I work in an industry where from the outside looking in, you think construction's about building the building, but it's actually a lot about the work winning and keeping the machine fed and knowing that you've got that billions of dollar pipeline coming next. And so the transparency around where is the business going, what are the expectations, how will you think about, you know, augmentation. You know, Built has invested a lot in the digital space. We're a private business, but I would say, as you know, we've probably been one of the leaders in this space. And so having conversations about what that may mean. Again, it's fortunate the executive all, and from the founder down, all talk about this, about being value adding, not about headcount reductive. And I don't take that for granted, right? I'm not working in an organisation where, you know, if anyone's here in the FS space, right, I think there's a lot of fear around what is this going to do, you know, in terms of my role, will I have a role? So it's a slightly different conversation, and that allows for a little bit more freedom and a little bit more comfort. So I think, you know, transparency where you can, be clear about where the investments are going. And again, you know, I can't say it enough, like we focus on equipping our leaders with those messages to be able to sort of step up into these new spaces that we're still uncovering, because we don't know what we don't know. Like, and you talked, Grant, about Copilot. Like, we work in a business where we work with defence. So there are certain constraints to the systems that we can use within our business. And, you know, understanding what that means.
Thank you.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, please do.
I think that's it's a really good point, but the question has to be asked first, what's right, and then does it fit into what we're allowed to do? So I think what people are doing is they're saying, what are we allowed to do? I will just take that one. So there's technical challenges to pick the right solution and work around what your constraints are. And I think a lot of people just aren't doing that at the moment.
Sure. And I think it requires a level of sophistication with the people in the business to ask that question too. You know, and I think, you know, certainly I've seen, you know, we've had a change in that space with a new CDIO, and it's opened up a whole different conversation about what we can do.
Liz is a performance psychologist. So what does well-being and performance look like in a high-pressure, AI-driven environment?
Well, let's start at the beginning. Well-being is the operating system to sustainable performance. So we need to ensure that we're looking after ourselves. And the classic example is, right, if an operating system in an IT world, and correct me if I'm wrong, Grant, but if an operating system in the IT world gets a virus, right, no good. Same with humans, right? We get a virus, and we've just come out of peak winter, so we're hopefully back into good health again. But we get a virus in our system, and computer says no. So it is the absolute foundation to sustainable performance. And I think traditionally what organisations have been looking at is that they're separate, that wellbeing and performance is separate. We've got traditionally leaders who are looking at the output and looking at the KPIs and the productivity. And as I said before, I think there's a real opportunity here with AI technologies to then be able to go, well, how do we actually blend the two? And how do we balance that well-being and put that at the human-centred part of performance-based systems? And I'll give you some examples around that. So has anyone heard of the 10,000 hour principle? Yeah, right. So for those of you who may not be familiar, it's Anders Ericsson's work, and he basically, decades worth of research says, you do 10,000 hours of one particular skill and you are going to be good at it. All right. What it actually stipulates even further, and there's a really great podcast that Diary of a CEO did a couple of weeks ago, but it's about quality practice in those 10,000 hours. One of the things that I get excited about here, and I think it's often a piece of that literature research that is often missed, is that when we're talking about that intersection between wellbeing and performance, there's an unknown statistic where he says actually elite performers spend, the actual statistic I think is 28 to 36% of their time, so a quarter to a third of their time is spent in recovery and reflection. And so I put the question out to the organisations, how are you building that in? How are you building those energy systems into, and that's a wellbeing and a performance base KPI, how are you building that into your workday and your workflow? Because I know athletes and elite athletes that I work with, they get scheduled days off. They get told, no, you have to rest today because we have to perform really well tomorrow. You have to taper because we have to perform tomorrow. It's a normalised conversation in elite sport, but it's always been quite curious that doesn't actually happen here in business. And so when I look at that statistic, I think there's a real opportunity here with the emergence of AI technologies for organisations to consider how will we actually step out of the reactivity and let's just find out what the right AI is. Let's actually step out of it and go, how do we actually build out our systems so we're looking after our people? I think we're on the same page. We're looking after our people and we're getting performance, not at the compromise of an individual's energy system. So I think those organisations who are going to have a competitive edge is actually where they're working with their leaders and training their leaders on what I call, I should probably trademark this, energy intelligence, all right? So we're working here around artificial intelligence, but the human capability part is the energy intelligence. So working with our leaders and training our leaders, how do we actually identify energy erosion and getting an understanding of, okay, well, what do I need to do about that now? So we're not going churn, and hitting burnout. We're actually putting it in and designing our human workflows, partnering with AI to then be able to identify, oh, there's an energy erosion there. They need some rest, recovery, reset to then be able to push again. We know that there's this period. And I think those organisations who are starting to look at AI in that particular lens are actually going to have a competitive edge as this next wave goes through.
How do we do that in reality? Because when there's high pressure environments, people push and people do more, and it's the way that we have done it for a long time. So talking about rest and restore and reflection and taking space seems very alien to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. It is about creating some of that literacy around it. I really like what you said before around, your leaders have to be open to that kind of conversation. Absolutely, they do. There's an opportunity here to have those conversations as people are talking about what systems are we going to use and how are we going to integrate this. And I think that a lot of organisations are just plug and play. Like, let's just plug it in and off we go. There's an organisation I'm having a conversation with in Southeast Asia at the moment, which I'm so excited about, Because what they're talking about is these are the AI functions that we're using. What do we need to do to enhance our human capability alongside it? How do we coach our leaders to support reduction in burnout whilst we go through this massive change management process? And how do we actually sustain that beyond 2025, 6, 7? So it is in conversation right now, but I feel that there's a lot of those organisations who are just going, we'll just have this one and we'll tap it in. I think that's what you said. So yeah, there's a lot of discussions that need to be had, bit of courage, bit of bravery, and openness to change in that experience, and say, I'm here to listen, what can we do?
And I would share that, you know, AI, I think, plays an acceleration role. Like if I look at what we're doing at Built, and again, predates me, so I do not take the credit. We do a wellbeing pulse at every one of our projects every month. So you talk about this energy erosion. We ask 9 questions. It takes less than 60 seconds to answer, but we have a view of every project every month of where the energy is. And we ask about sleep, collaboration. We ask about general, you know, stress. And it immediately gives us this view of where is the project at. And then we can make these sort of shifts and changes. Now, I can't wait until we can leverage AI, because we've now got all this data, and it's very, you know...
I can build an agent for you.
Yes.
Get 'em all.
But to then form a sort of a predictive insight view. So does that energy management look different when we're building a hospital versus when we're building a data centre versus when we're building... But again, if I go back to, you know, I love this notion of the and, right? The AI is there to augment the human capability. Like we work together to be able to then go, okay, well, how are we going to intervene here? You know, we're building the Atlassian building at Central. It's like a huge, complex, first time we've ever done it. We've just had one of the worst, rainiest months on record in New South Wales. It's like, okay, well, that's now a challenge. How do we then think about this push recover for the system of people in that business? And if we weren't asking those questions on a monthly basis, we'd have a sense of it, but we wouldn't have the data to go, you know what, we need to do something here. So I think organisations that are doing that work and then like tapping into how AI can augment the insight and then potentially solutions, I think is where we'll win.
And that takes wellbeing beyond just a mindfulness app, right? Or, you know, a fruit bowl on a Friday afternoon, you know, and what we're talking about here is an evolution of how, from an organisational perspective, around how we look after our workforce wellbeing. And you look after it, somebody said before, I think it was you, Christina, you know, happy wife, happy life, or happy spouse, happy house. You know, I heard it, it's absolutely right. You know, you look at from an individual, a team, and you look at it from a systems perspective, if you've got your house in order, the wellbeing's all right, a little bit beyond mindfulness app that everyone gets a log into, then you're going to get good performance. And if you do it well, it can be data informed and it can be sustainable.
And it needs to link to a vision. So you need to know where you're going as well. Grant, where do you see AI creating the biggest opportunities to lift performance without losing the people in the process? And what do we need to look out for as humans?
That's a really good question, but I think it's the wrong question. What's wrong with losing people in a business? Now, that's really contentious, but as a business, it's not our job to make sure everyone is employed all the time. It's our job to make sure that we are more profitable, more efficient, and growing more tomorrow than what we do today. So if the answer is to get rid of people and still be more profitable, from a business perspective, that could be the right answer to do. But I think we're framing it the wrong way, which is, how do I replace a person with AI? Or people are saying, oh no, is AI going to take my job? But actually, shouldn't it be, how do I use AI to amplify what I am to the business or what I can do for the business? So if I'm sitting back on the board and I'm like, next year I can be more profitable, I can grow, and I can be more efficient by hiring more people, by using the same amount of people, that's way better. And I think the doomers like, oh no, AI is going to take everything, they're losing the aspect that actually it can give us so much more. So if I have somebody that can do effectively a 20-person team and not be stressed out and still being able to, you know, have wellness in the workplace, etc., that's worth so much more to me, because now I can do way more than I could ever do within a business. Now, I think what to watch out for and I'm hearing it a lot today, and I'm hearing it here on the panel, which is once it gets to this level. And the truth is AI is not getting to this level. AI is getting to this level this week, and then next week this level, and this, and we've never seen anything like it ever in history. This is the biggest decision businesses have ever had to ask, because we've never had to deal with an intelligence before. We've had to deal with problems, but never an intelligence, and maybe an intelligence that will surpass us. So I think if you're setting strategy for AI today, that's one of your biggest challenges, because AI tomorrow is not AI today, and it's going to happen faster than you think.
Ooh, I love that one. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, when we're thinking about strategy and the future, we couldn't predict COVID, for instance. We can't predict some of these disruptions, and AI is an ongoing disruption. And I think you're absolutely right, too, that organizations have to figure out the right way to navigate their future, to exist and keep employing the people that they necessarily employ and not overemploy. What I'm feeling right now is, because there's such a high degree of uncertainty, and no matter what we predict now, there is going to be a difference. There is still a benefit in running a scenario modeling based exercise where you get multiple executives aligned around their best guess as of today. It absolutely has to be dynamic, because things are shifting and moving. Right now, I think the problem is there's so many organizations that just don't have a position. They just think maybe broadly in their head they're going to cut a third of their workforce in 5 years, and they have no idea what the path would be to get there, and they're destabilizing all the rest of us while they're sitting there trying to figure that out and decide what does it mean, if anything. I think of like companies like Blockbuster Video. They were amazing. They're great, picking where their locations were, picking what movies to put on the shelf, how much to price. They were operationally excellent. They didn't look forward. They got disrupted, and they're gone. People are being disrupted, as you say, weekly, but they just don't have a view of what that difference could be.
Why would a company want to cut a third of their workforce in 5 years when they can grow 100%, 200% with the same workforce, or put more on? I really think the biggest issue here is the leadership are looking at this as a technological saving. Right, and not an enhancement, and it is so much more. I mean, if I look at my guys who are coding, right, they don't code. They sit there and they have 20 agents, and it goes off and it does what they have to do, and they orchestrate and they monitor and they get it done. And in between, they're on Twitter or looking at memes or whatever it is they do, and that's amazing. But to go back to your point in regards to, that's okay now, because we're ahead of the pack and we're way more efficient than anybody else. But the pack's going to catch up, and then I'm going to expect more out of them. I'm like, why are you looking at Twitter? Why are you doing your memes? You know, so you take advantage while you can, but you have to stop thinking as this is the new tech. It has to be a very regular, updated version. And if you think it's going to save money by getting rid of the workforce, that tail's long. It's not coming for a long time, especially in Australia, because everyone in Australia pretty much doesn't get to their entire workload on a daily basis. So you'll be able to, and then plus more. So no one's taking jobs. I don't believe that for a while, but there are going to be pockets that the efficiency will have to move into something else.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, because I do think there are companies that think, I'm going to cut half my customer service workforce in a year's time, and they're building that into their budgets. And I think you're absolutely right. The challenge is that some of these companies don't have the visionary leadership to see that it is a value add and a commercial increase, as opposed to the workforce being a cost, which hits all the well-being stuff in particular. Like, justifying well-being has been historically hard, because people see workers as a cost and well-being as a potential additional. I think my worry is the leaders that don't see what you see will make short-term decisions that end up making their companies roadkill.
And what about the other way, in terms of what's the possibility? If you think about an organisation in 5 years from now, what is the most exciting possibility you can see?
I'll let Mary go, because she agreed with my last point. So.
I just think, both what Grant and Chris have said is right on the money. I think the organisations that will win will truly view sustainable performance through the lens of sustainable performance, not reductionist, not what can I deliver this quarter. And listen, I've worked in a listed business. I understand the quarterly pressures. But again, I think the businesses that have a longer range view will think about this more strategically. And they will go, well, you know what, yeah, we could take take it and pocket it today, or are we better off just going, let's hold. This isn't about taking a reductive approach. It's about taking a hold approach, growing the revenue, increasing the capacity by augmenting with AI, or pushing work up to the right place in the value chain. And we've seen it happen before AI. Like, we saw that happen with other conversations that we've had around centralization and outsourcing and all those things. And they do ebb and flow. We were working with a futurist yesterday and looking at some of the signals, and some organizations, I think it was Klarna, that was one of the early, like, we're going to get rid of all our customer service reps and go full AI. And apparently now they're bringing back humans because it's not working so well. And I don't know, I think we've got to be flexible. And if you are truly focused on sustained performance, which by its nature and definition is longer range, I think those are the organisations that will win. And what excites me is if you work in an organisation like that, and you're competing against organisations that have a much more short-term view, your chances of success are much higher. I think organisations that are mature and sophisticated understand the wellbeing proposition is not a nice to have, and it's not the fruit bowl, and it's not the art. It's that genuine, how can we help people be the most productive version of themselves in a sustainable way? And by productive, that's efficient and effective and sustainably, that you can turn up next year and the year after. And understand that that's an orchestration, because you cannot be at peak performance 100% of the time, 365 days of the year. It doesn't work. So the system has to do the dance together.
So, considering the people in the room, what message would you give them in terms of if they wanted to take a bold step tomorrow or next week? We've got a lot of people here looking after people in the wellbeing space, HR space, and some executives. What would be your advice to them about a bold action they could be taking in this space? Who wants to go first?
I think when you go back, this has to go up more than down. To me, this is a top-level leadership decision. Any strategy on AI implementation and then AI for sort of well-being has to be in the boardroom and not the server room. It has to be not only led from the top, but the top has to be using it, has to be reviewing it, and has to be understanding it. Because if they don't, what's going to filter down will not be an advantage to your business. It's actually going to be a disadvantage.
Thank you. Liz?
Yeah, I think I'll just extend from that, and I think everyone's in agreement, building out human-centered performance systems in collaboration with AI. I think further from that, if those conversations are happening, and assuming that they will after today, that the organisation focus on building capacity and capability specifically around adaptability, things like learning growth, things like perspective taking, things like decision making and being a bit more solution focused and collaborative with peers, not just with AI. Because, Grant, just as a fun fact for you, people task switch every 2.5 minutes. So if they've got 20 bots and they're on Twitter, not your agents, but your humans, I can see why they would be on Twitter. So I think organisations, that next step beyond the exec conversations is around shifting wellbeing focus from resilience, which traditionally has been a very easy tick box lunch and learn exercise. It actually needs to shift focus into adaptability. And they're the ones that are going to train up leaders rather than just push the KPIs, get the productivity up. It's actually going to train the leaders to design their workforce and their exec with their exec endorsement to design their workforce to thrive.
Thank you. Mary?
It's easy to get preoccupied with the conversation on AI. Don't forget what we know is tried and true. Our leaders matter. Invest in your leaders. In our business, there's 300 people that manage the rest. So if I ever have only $1 to spend, I'll over-index on leaders. And by leaders, I mean anyone that manages people, not seniority, leadership-based conversation, because what we're seeing is tricky. We've never encountered it. And you can only scale the impact if you're focusing on those people and making sure they're the right people, building their capability, helping them harness that so that they can manage their teams.
Ooh, so many things. I think, I'll echo a little bit as well as what Grant said. Getting those leaders together and just not assuming that they have a shared view of the future, asking them. asking them, what do you think 2028 could look like for us? And if they can't really answer that question as a group, really pushing them, because again, I feel like it's irresponsible to employ any number of people and not have that kind of view.
Great. Round of applause for the panel. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.